Okay, the first question will actually be, tell me more about yourself. This is a general
Um,
introduction.
well, I like to write. I'm a poet. I really like animals. I like cats. I'm an immigrant. I moved to America, I think, when I was like 3, and like, I guess like I've never really identified with America or like my home country. Kind of like a countryless. I'm 20 years old. I'm a junior, hopefully graduating next year. We'll see. And I'm a business major.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do you think you can bring to the table for Ikasu?
I think like how I mentioned before, like I never really identified with like a country in particular because of like how I grew up. Like when I went back to Bangladesh, I was seen as like an American, and like when I'm here, like I'm seen as an outsider. Like, and like you know a lot of like Asian Americans who are born here, they'll get asked the question, oh like where are you from? But like and they'll be like, oh I'm American, you know, but I'm not American, but I'm also American because I came here when I was so young. But then I don't have the excuse that I was born here because I wasn't born here, you know. So when people ask me that question, I'm always like, you know, like I'm from Bangladesh, but I'm American. And like that experience growing up, I think it like I like had like a lot of white friends growing up, and like because of that, and like the media that I was exposed to was also like primarily like white people, so I had a really like hard time accepting the fact that I was different and I was Asian, I was Bengali, and embracing those things. And growing up, I think like especially in like high school, when I met like my group, like my kind of group of friends who were like more like South Asian, and like my group of friends that were also like more diverse. Um, it made me like realize that I'm okay with who I am, and like like expressing that message to like other people, and like letting them know like okay, like it's okay to be different, but like you need to like there's everybody like Asians especially like go through that process of like this idea of like balancing like our culture with American culture. So I think like that idea of balance is what I can bring to a costume.
Okay, I'm just gonna go a little off track here. I just want to ask, I know I've asked this before in your application questions, but what are your actual like, what what are your envisions of like, after going to Ikasu? What are your like what are your main takeaways? Do you want you hope to achieve? You know?
Because I never really experienced anything like Ikasu. Like I never like in like high school we had like a really I went to Harvard Township High School. We had Key Club there, and that was like a really big thing. Like every year there was decon. So I never even got to like go to like those kinds of events. So I wanted to experience like a conference like this first and foremost, but I also wanted to take away like talk with other people who have had similar experiences with me and understand like maybe things that I haven't understood yet, and bring that back to like the people around me, because I know a lot of people around me are still struggling to come to terms with the fact that they're Asian, and like they don't know how Asian they should be, how American they should be, you know.
So, in terms of Asian American representation in general, what are some of your thoughts about that?
Because I think like people are demanding too much too quick, because we also have to consider the fact that the Asians are a very small portion of America, so we're not gonna get like the media exposure that like of like let's say like even black people that they're getting right now right away, but we're also very complacent in that sense. A lot of Asian Americans don't want like parents especially don't want their kids venturing into like media like that. So I think we just need to be like made like especially to like our older generations and the current generations awareness that like you don't just have to be a doctor, you don't just have to be a lawyer, because media and representation is important too, so that kids who are growing up and seeing these things and learning about these things, they'll know like okay, like I don't necessarily like there isn't just one path in my life, there are many paths in my life. And when people come to America and like grow up in America, they feel like they don't have those options because of like the pressures that are put on them by their culture, and trying to balance that with like
Just want to clarify that with you. You said that you said initially that we're moving too fast. We shouldn't strike
well
right
like
now. And yet,
yeah, like I
at the
meant
same
like when like people talk about it in the media itself, like Asian Americans who are currently in the media talking about it, like they're saying, oh, it's not enough, but like that's what I mean. Like they are moving too fast, but like obviously, it's not gonna happen right away, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't still strive for it in like slow steps and introduce it. Because like, how do you expect like the general population who are Asian to accept it if our own culture doesn't accept it first? You know, that's what I mean. It's like we're moving too fast. We have to work on our own community first.
Okay, so in your application, you said there are struggles I go through being a Bengali American.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name a specific struggle that you have gone through, and how has that struggle made you better as an American and as a Bengali, and how will you bring that to your classroom?
I think the biggest struggle is trying to understand where my parents come from, and as like, and you know, they're constantly reminding me, oh, you know, you're Muslim, you're Bengali, you have these responsibilities, and I think like that struggle has made me realize like, for a really long time I wanted to just get rid of everything that was Bengali about me, like be like, okay, like you guys are wrong, like we're living in America, we have to be American, which I still don't know what being American means. So that like constant clash with my parents that I'm still going through to this day, like I think like the biggest thing about me is like balance, like we need to like, because as Asian Americans there's like this idea of like trying to like either pick one culture over the other or somehow try to like fit both cultures into ourselves, or like just be half and half, which I don't know how people would do that. So that clash with my parents of like, no, I can't do this, I can't do that, or like you can't do this, you can't do that. Hold on, let me try to like organize my thoughts. I'm kind of like scattered right now. So like that clash with my parents, I think I realized because for a really long time I didn't want to listen and hear them out, and I think I forgot like there are good things about my culture too that I should embrace. And through that, like I didn't learn it from my parents so much, that I learned it from going to school and meeting other Asians and like talking to other Asians and like my friend group currently, and like meeting other people who have had similar experiences that have helped me go through the struggle of like who I should be and who I should be proud of. I learned to I learned that I am allowed to criticize things in my culture, but I'm also, that doesn't mean that I should completely forget about my culture. And that's made me like a better Bengali and also a better American, because I think I don't like, I understand that like you can criticize the societies you belong to, and that doesn't mean you hate it, that doesn't mean you can't belong to it. Like I criticize America all the time, I criticize Bengali culture all the time, but that doesn't mean I can't belong to it still. That's like the struggle. Yeah.
Okay.
Assuming we've taken you to your costume,
Yeah.
what would you do with your newfound knowledge and experiences that over here in Stockton at ASA?
I think like, especially like in ASA, there isn't, even in ASA there isn't a lot of diversity. It's primarily like East Asians in ASA. Like I think I would want to learn more about how to get people in like South Asia and like other parts of Asia more involved and more like aware that these things are important too, to have this type of community, not just sectioned off so much like this bigger, because in America our identity, like people don't look at you and say like, oh, like you're this Asian, you're that Asian, like you're just other, you're just Asian, you know. I think we have to like remember that here, like we have to stick together as a whole, and like I want to be able to learn how to do that and how to express that to people more, and like bring that back to Stockton so we get more involvement from people other than just East Asians.
I think you think, oh wait, hold on, I think there's a little like hiccup, because I think they do, people over here do separate South Asians and East Asians.
They
so
do, like,
yeah.
They do, but like also, like those groups are also even smaller too, like when you section it off so much. So like as those small groups, like how do we like rise up together if we're already sectioned off, you know? It's important to have those small groups, but it's also important to have like that big picture too. And like we don't really have as much of a big picture here, you know?
So my question is that, you know, we recently have a South Asian club on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you stay at ASA rather than going to South?
I went to their first meeting, and it was very focused on one, like in India basically, and like that also is like another thing, because you say you're South Asian, but you're not really. You're just focused on like Indian culture, so that's not really South Asia. So that's what really put me off. And they didn't seem like they were really trying to make things like more. They didn't really like. Of course, it's important to have fun, but I think it's also important to like realize why we have these groups in the first place and what makes them important, and to talk about those issues that make these groups so like necessary. And they weren't really doing that. So I think that's why I'm staying in ASA more, just because I have like a better community here and better like relationship with like the people in ASA.
Okay. So last question is, if you could be an object, what would you be and why?
An object?
Yeah, any object.
Oh my god, I would be a telescope.
Why?
Because I love astronomy and I love the stars, and ever since like the 3rd grade, like when I read my first like astronomy book, I just like love looking up at the sky and like finding like, oh, here's like Jupiter, or like here's Orion. Like I would be a telescope because you can just see things that like you can't see normally. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Uh,